Namaskar. The next principle of Niyama Sadhana is called Tapah. Tapah means to undergo hardship for the sake of promoting the welfare of the world. You accept, it is a willingness to accept hardship, to accept pain, accept suffering in your life in order to alleviate the suffering of others, to help others, and also to elevate yourself. This is the idea of Tapah. It is the practice of penance. To be honest, this is the hardest practice, this is the hardest principle in the set of principles of Jama and Niyama. Because by nature we are programmed to seek for happiness and to avoid pain. And here you are renouncing your own happiness, you are renouncing your own pleasures, you are accepting hardship for the sake of others' happiness. This goes ultra-wise to our nature. At least it goes ultra-wise to our limited animalistic nature. Rather, it elevates us to another stage, to our divine nature. By doing Tapah, actually you awaken joy, you awaken light within yourself. You awaken the inspiration. If you practice regularly this principle of Tapah, you become like invincible man. You become full of effulgence, you become full of inspiration. This is the essence of this principle. By practicing Tapah, by practicing accepting this hardship in your life for the sake of others, for the sake of elevation of the mind, you awaken in yourself a very strong spirit. You awaken in yourself very strong inspiration. So let us see what is this Tapah. Etymologically, Tapa means, Tapa is actually sun. Tapan is sun. So Tapa means to get heated. In ancient time, people used to sit in the scorching sun, under the scorching sun. And there were like 5 pots with coals, burning coals. And they used to sit and meditate without drinking, without eating, just meditating there. The idea was that I will undergo pain, I will undergo suffering while trying to attain the Supreme Entity. Definitely, this penance will draw attention of the Supreme. He will look at me, He will bestow His grace, and I will achieve Him. This was the simple idea in the minds of people. So there were so many practices like that. People used to sit near the fire, they used to stay in the water, they used to raise their hands like this up and keep for 20 years until they become as dry branches of the tree. So those practices people used to do. My spiritual teacher, my guru Sri Shanandamurti, he explains that this is a bit misguided psychology. Because Supreme Entity, Supreme Consciousness doesn't want us to suffer. He does not want us to suffer for the sake of suffering. But what He wants to liberate every being, every microcosm, to bring them to the status of freedom, to the status of spirituality, from crudeness to subtleness, from bondage to freedom. This is the desire of the Supreme Entity. So when you act along with this desire, you satisfy Him. You bring joy to the Supreme Entity. That is why simply suffering for the sake of suffering is not going to work. Because you are neither doing good to yourself, harming your body, and the body is just like a temple of consciousness. If your body is sick, it's not going to do any good. It's not going to bring happiness to the Supreme Entity, because Supreme Entity wants you to be healthy, to be energetic. And He wants you to do sadhana, spiritual practice. And also it will not give any use, it will not be of any use to the world. You are not going to serve the world through this. So our master, he changes the direction of this Tapah, he changes the psychological approach. Is that yes, we will accept suffering in our life, we will accept pain, but for the benefit of the world. So tapah means two things. One is to give happiness to the world, and another is to give happiness to the Supreme Entity. How you can give happiness to the Supreme Entity? By fulfilling his desire. What is his desire? To liberate you, to bring that you become like him, you become liberated. This is what gives pleasure to the Supreme. This is what gives happiness to the Supreme. So, in our life, there is always a choice. How I'm going to spend my time. And tapa means making this choice. You can choose an activity that will elevate you, will expand your consciousness, will make you a better person, will bring you closer to your goal. Or you can choose the activity which is useless, or you can choose the activity which is degenerating. So many times in our life there is this deliberation. Should I go for collective meditation? Today is Sunday, maybe I should attend. There is a very nice movie going on in the cinema theaters. Last Sunday, I could not, I didn't manage to go before. Today is the last day. Should I go to the movie or should I go to the collective meditation? Of course, our mind wants entertainment. It is an easy food. You are taking that food, everything is digested, and you don't have to make any effort. You are just receiving a pure pleasure. Nothing, no effort. And spiritual activities, you will receive anandam, not pleasure, but anandam, joy. But that comes after the hard work. You will have to concentrate, you will have to work hard, and then your mind will be elevated, and then in that elevated state you will feel that joy. So one process brings about degeneration, another process brings up elevation. And the choice between them, to choose the right thing, you have to practice tapah. Tapah means renouncing something. You let go some happiness for the sake of a bigger happiness. To elevate yourself and to satisfy the Supreme Entity. This is one sort of tapah. Another sort of tapah is to serve other people. Let's say you're going to the movie again, then your friend is calling you. Oh, my friend, you know, in my garden there is so much harvesters there, and I need to collect. I will not manage to do it myself. Can you come and help me? Otherwise, the winter is coming very soon. The snow will fall. All my harvest will be spoiled. Can you help me? I don't know. Maybe this example is not very relevant to the modern world. Anyhow, he's calling you. He asks for your help, and you know he needs my help. But you think, oh, there is such a nice movie. And then there is a deliberation in the mind, there is a decision. Okay, I come and I help you. And after helping him, what you will feel? You will like to sit and just feel inner joy. I have done a good thing, I helped him, and now I feel so peaceful, I feel so joyful. Also, let's say, you want to go for some entertainment, but your mother has fallen sick, or somebody has fallen sick, requires your assistance. You stay with the person. I just read somewhere in Facebook, there was a nice story that there was a couple, and the husband went into some automobile crash, you know? There was some catastrophe. And then he broke everything, and he spent like 3 months in coma. And then his wife just stood by his side, sitting there all the time. And then after he awakened, she left her job, and she was doing with him all the exercises that bring him back to the health. Then finally he became well again. So that is called tapah. She didn't say, you know, life is passing by, why should I? So that is, you choose. You choose the welfare of others you prefer the welfare of other person to your transitory happiness, transitory pleasure. You choose something more important. This is called tapah. Tapah implies doing service. There are 4 ways of doing service, and we need to try doing those services. To the human beings, in 4 ways we serve. One way is to serve through your physical means, like you take care of the sick. Just through your, doesn't require intellect, doesn't require courage, doesn't require any special strength, just physical service. It's called Shudra Chitta, physical service. Most of the time, it comes under the category of tapah. So those people who are averse to this kind of physical care and service, they cannot be established in tapah, and they cannot also establish themselves in meditation. So sometimes as a test, it comes to us. Sometimes we have to take care of the animal, of the human being, of somebody who is in need. And we leave aside all the things that we were doing that were important for us, and we serve that person. That is, and then sometimes just physical help. You help farming, you help constructing, you help on the physical plane. You are doing selfless service. Selfless means you are not expecting, there is not a wee bit of commercial mentality there. It is not that I am serving this person, when he will get well, he will remember me. He is a powerful man, he will help me to get promotion in my life. If you think like this, then immediately all the tapah is gone. All that practice, all the result of that practice has disappeared. There should not be commercial mentality. You think, I will do regardless of whether I will get reward or punishment. This is my duty to do. Then there is a Kshatriya Chitta Seva. That service is a service by strength, by courage, to protect the weak, to administer the people who have weak willpower, to protect them from following the path of the vice, to follow the path of sin. So by employing your physical courage, by employing your physical strength, you govern the people, you organize them, you protect them, you create the structure, the power structure. Like police and fire brigade, this is all Kshatriya Chitta Seva. They are performing warrior service. So perform this kind of service selflessly, not thinking that I will be rewarded by salary or something. Just perform it as your duty. That is also part of tapah. Then another thing is Vipra Chitta. Vipra means by your intellect. If you have understood something, then you try to give that knowledge to others. You are teaching. You are transmitting your wisdom to others. And that tapah, it requires a lot of sacrifice, because to acquire wisdom, you have to go through the long path of penance, long path of spiritual sadhana. And then later on you acquire that priceless knowledge, and then you share that knowledge. That is also part of tapah. Also, I should mention that for the students, those who are studying in the university or in the college or in the school, for them the main tapah is to study. Because they will study, and studying means in some universities, like you go to the medical university, oh my God, for 7 years they're just studying and studying and studying and studying. They have to memorize so many things, and it's really, really hard. But then, once they become good professionals, they can serve the society. So today they are studying, so that later they will have something to give to the society. This is also part of tapah. For the student, if he's studying well in his school, in his university, it means he's performing, it is a part of his spiritual practice. If the student will say, oh Dada, you know, I don't like to study, better I quit the university. This is a not good thing. Is you study. This is a part of your spirituality. If you are not going to be successful in your university, also in meditation you are not going to be successful. You should try and attempt and complete your university, complete your education, because this is how you're going to serve the society. This is also part of tapah. And then finally there is this vaishya-citta. Vaishya-citta means financial, material service. You give someone food, you pay for someone's education, you pay for someone's clothes, for food, for housing, for medication. So by paying, you serve. But I should say that tapah, practice of tapah, service, it should be guided by wisdom. If it is done without wisdom, the results will be neutralized, because many people will be there who will like to take advantage of your goodness, of your kindness. They will think, oh, this person likes to help, let me make use of his helping, let him serve me. Many people will be like that. So we should think, where is my help is more necessary? Instead of, like, the person is rich, I don't need to help him financially. Maybe that person is suffering differently. Maybe he is suffering in the psychological sphere. He doesn't know. Let me help him. He is poor with knowledge. So I will help him with knowledge, not with the money. He is very rich with money. Rather, to take money from him will be service. Because if he is stingy, he is not charitable, to convince him to spend the money for some charity will be service for that person. So it has to be guided by discrimination. We have to understand what is necessary. And our obligation, our duty towards those who are in the less advantageous position is more. We don't have duty and obligation who are in the better situation than we are. So tapah means to be responsible, means able to for the response. The world constantly needs our attention. The world constantly needs our service. And for that service, we have to sacrifice energy, we have to sacrifice time, we have to sacrifice our comforts, we have to sacrifice money, so many things. And the spiritual seeker is actually searching for these opportunities. One, my friend, he has completed one very big project, some rural development project. Then he was sharing with me. He said, you know, this year I wanted to rest. I had so much of financial obligations, you know. These people need money, these people need money. They all depend on me, and I have to sponsor so many schools, I have to do so many, you know, humanitarian work. Is already enough for me. So I thought that I will take 1 year rest. And he's not a businessman or anything. He's a monk, and he has many sympathizers who helps him, but still he has to move so much to be able to arrange for everybody. But his nature like this. He will see someone needs, he will immediately want to help. And that's why also money is coming to him constantly. So he said, I thought I will rest. But then he said, I thought that it will be a little bit egoistical. That means this 1 year I will relax and live for myself. I don't think it is right for me. I better take that commitment. I will take that bigger commitment. I will fulfill it. Yes, I will be uncomfortable. I will have no peace of mind. I will have to move all the time. I will have no free time. But my soul will remain in joy. Because when I am doing this work, I am feeling inner purpose. I am feeling inner joy. So this is his tapasya. He's constantly, I'm sometimes wondering how he's managing. He's moving from country to country, from city to city, speaking to people until 12 o'clock in the night, and then just trying to solve everybody's problem. He is really, for me, very good example of such. And we all try. We try to be useful to other people. And we try to... So the ideal of life is actually, you know, like Alexander the Great, after conquering the world, when for his burial, he ordered that his hands should be, you know, out of the coffin, so the people will see he has conquered the world, but he's going from the world empty-handed. So we will go empty-handed. So why don't we try to give everything what we have to the world, to promote the happiness of the world, and to promote our elevation of mind? I think that is the only meaning of life. There is no other meaning. Otherwise we just appear and disappear. We got something, but who cares? We will not care to remember you, because you lived only for yourself. You have not done for others. But those who have done for others, we will keep you in our innermost hearts. So let us become this sort of persons whom humanity will keep in their hearts. They have done something for us. They loved us. So this is the practice of tapah. Also, fasting and all the procedures of the spiritual life. Sometimes it's hard to follow spiritual discipline. Let's say you come very tired in your home after the job, you're very hungry, you're very tired, and the discipline requires you to sit and to do meditation, and you would just like to eat and sleep or watch TV. But discipline requires do meditation. This is also type of tapah, is a type of penance, because you are you're postponing eating, you're postponing entertainment, but you are doing sadhana. This is kind of tapah. Doing fasting, purifying your body, purifying your consciousness, also type of tapah. Sometimes when I'm very, very exhausted, when I go and I give lectures and I become very exhausted physically, mentally, spiritually, I cannot do meditation, then what saves me is fasting. I don't eat, I don't drink for one day, and in that day so much spiritual energy comes, so much effulgence comes in myself. Next morning I wake up just a fresh man, ready to conquer the world again. So this is also part of tapah. So if you follow this approach in life, that I make a choice, there is something pleasant but temporary, and there is something hard but eternal, and I choose between temporary and eternal, and I prefer the eternal. I prefer the elevation of my mind and the welfare of others. Then you will be following the practice of tapah, and that practice will keep you constantly inspired, will keep you constantly joyful. You will never suffer from any kind of psychic ailments, depression and so on, because you are tapasya. You are not only full of light, you are light. You have become light, because tapah, after all, means sun, the source of light. Thank you very much. Find next week opportunity to serve others by physical means, by economical means. Make a donation. When you're making donation, if you donate $10, is not actually tapah, because you don't feel anything. Okay, $10. You know, when tapah starts, you give $10, another $10, $100, and the moment when your hand shakes, that moment tapah starts. Because the moment when you feel that, okay, now I'm suffering, now this is attachment, this is too much. The moment when you feel, oh, this is too much. Sometimes for some person to take out the garbage of the house is already a tapah. He already suffers. But for other person to do something great, because just this kind of task is a trivial. I never suffer. I don't experience any hardship. So to accept bigger challenge, to do bigger task, this is tapah, and that constantly expands your mind, constantly develop you. Today you have done, let's say you build a school. Tomorrow you will have to build a city. Next life you will have to build another planet. Something like this. You go on expanding with your service to the world. This is tapah. So try to start with the small things, accept hardship to elevate the suffering of others, to give happiness to others, and follow your discipline. when you desire to skip meditation, think about it. Oh, now it is the opportunity to perform tapah. Now I will sit, not because I want meditation, not because I desire to get enlightenment or bliss in my meditation, because now it is a perfect time to show the Supreme Entity that I love Him. And I'm doing sadhana, I'm doing this spiritual practice to satisfy the Supreme Consciousness. I don't know this, if you understand this or not. But this is the spirit. The sadhaka is not doing meditation for himself. He tries to satisfy the Supreme. And the Supreme is also our innermost soul. So we want to go from the level of ego, of involvement into the smallness, to the involvement of the greatness. This is the whole idea. Thank you very much. Namaskar.